Yeah, hello and welcome to today's class. We're still on mobile app development 5 days program with Flutter. And today it's day 2 and we'll be looking at Flutter layouts and widget. Yeah, we've talked about the advantage of Flutter. We've talked about how to set up your IDE when it comes to using Flutter. And we also dived into the introduction of that programming language. So what we're going to be doing is, as the course is going, we'll be taking, if there is need for us to talk about that, we're going to switch to our DATPad IDE, and we're going to actually take that. So without wasting so much time, let's dive into. So first thing first, we need to understand the Flutter project structure. So we actually need to create a folder, and today's class we'll be looking at the Hello World, and our aim is to create an Hello World Flutter app that is going to have various things. So I want you to follow along and watch me do all of this. And if you are using the FlutLab.io, you are using Android Studio, you are using your VS Code, anyone is fine. But I prefer to use VS Code because it's kind of faster and it's not as heavy as Android Studio. But we need Android Studio installed. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go to my documents where I told you to create some files. So let me just drag this. Come to documents. I'm going to go to my app development folder, and I have an Hello World here. So I've created an Hello World app, and I told you in the previous video when we set up the Flutter how to Flutter create Hello World. So for everyone's sake, I'm going to have to redo this again. Then I'm going to right click here, and I'm going to click open with code. So quickly, without wasting so much time, I'm going to open my terminal, which I said before. Your terminal is needed, the ID is needed, and that's what we're going to type in a command to create an application. So the first command we are supposed to type in, if you open your terminal, to bring out your terminal, I told you we can come in here and just toggle this tab here. Then you're going to see this terminal. So I'm going to type in Flutter. That's the first keyword, create. Then the name of the application you want to create. It could be anything. But for this particular tutorial class, we'll be using Hello World. Our aim is to create a Flutter application, Hello World Flutter app. So I'm going to click enter, and Flutter is going to do some kind of dependency getting. You're going to do some kind of stuff, and it's going to take some kind of time. The dependency installed already. So yeah, so let's talk about the Flutter project structure. We need to understand what is happening and what each of these things are doing. Now on my screen here, you can see we are inside the Hello World. Now once you've done that, you make sure that you cd into the name of the inside the name of the application you just created, because when you created it, you're going to have this Hello World and you're within this scope. So let me give you an example. Now when you've created it, you're going to see the name of your folder, which says application development. Now we need to be inside we need to be inside the application that we just created, because if you run any command, let's say flutter run, you get an error which says no pop-spec.yaml file. This command should be run from the root of your Flutter project, and my Flutter project is Hello World. So we need to go inside it and do that particular work. So to do that, we can just say cd, which means change directory, then the name of the application. So once you do this, you can now see that we are inside the document, the app development, then the Hello World. Then we can now run Flutter run. So Now, before we do any of this, I don't want to do any of this right now. I still want to explain to you. Now, if you've done this and you need to go back to your application later, you can just close your VS Code, open the VS Code. You can like new window. Let's say you open your VS Code from scratch and you want to go into your application that you've created before. Maybe you finished working today and you close this PC. Now, to go into the application that you are working with before, you have to come to the folder here, click on open folder, the top icon here, the top icon that you had here, click on open folder. So this one here, so I can be sure. So this is the top icon here. Click on open folder, then go look for your folder, documents, app development, then click on hello world. So when you select this folder, VS Code is going to prep this up for initial development. So as you can see, we have this. Now you are inside this folder structure. If we come back here and we toggle the terminal, from here you're going to see that already Flutter, the VS Code is inside your project. So let's just wait for this to sync up. New batch. Okay. So I'm taking my time to explain all of these so that you can understand what is going on and you don't get stuck when doing stuff all by yourself. So kind of let me share. Okay, as you can see, we have the document, the app development, then we have the yellow word. So that is that. So I'm going to just close this one. Now, before I do anything, let me just quit now. I'm going to open my emulator, which is the next thing we want to do. We want to open up our emulator. I don't need Android Studio, but I need to open my emulator. Now, if you've not installed your emulator for Android Studio, it's fine. You can still run Flutter here using the Chrome or the Windows. But so that we can have a kind of app feel, I'm going to close here. I'm just going to close here. I'm going to come to my Android Studio. I'm going to come to my device manager here. Then I'm going to click on play. So I have one already, which when I installed my application, it installed the emulator. So if you don't have an emulator, you can click on create device on your Android Studio. Then you're going to select one of the device, then it's going to download it for you. So if it's not installed, it will tell you that it's not installed. So let's say Pixel 6 Pro. Next. Now you have to, can you see I have one here that has been downloaded. So if you don't have any, you have to click on it and you would have to download it. So as you can see, you'd have to download this one. So you just have to click on here to download. So you'll see that it is trying to download, but I'm not going to download anything because I have one installed already. So I'm just going to click on play here. And it's going to be launching so once I click the play, I just want to get my device running so I can use it. So it's connecting my emulator. I can come up. So it takes kind of time to boot up, but we'll just wait for it to boot up. Then we'll come check it. So due to what's it called, lag issues on my PC, so I wasn't able to get Android Studio, but it's fine. As I said, we could use Chrome or you could use your Chrome to run it later video, but for now we're just going to focus on running because we have a lot to cover, but we're going to cover that. So but if you have a very high-end PC, you can open the emulator, which I said. So mine was opening, but due to a lot of recording, modifying, and some major application on my PC, I was having it to lag, and the fans are rolling so fast. So the best way, we're gonna go back to saying Flutter run, and then now it's going to ask us to select where we want to run it. I'm going to select 2, which is Chrome. Now we're going to wait for it. So before we do that, I'm going to divide my screen into 2 places for now. So I'm going to put the Flutter application in here, but you can see what I'm doing. So let me just move these to this side. Let me reduce it a little. That's right. So now it's going to take a little bit of some time to compile it, then build it. So back to our folder structure that we're talking about. As you can see, it's waiting for connection from the debug service to Chrome. So we'll talk about the Dart tool. Now, what is this folder talking about? Now, the folder Dart tool is, it's where we're going to download all of our dependencies. And what are dependencies? Once you create an application, once you create a Flutter applications, there are some dependencies. That's things your application is going to need. Now, Flutter has to go to the pub.dev. So let me show you what pub.dev is. So there's a website called pub.dev. This is where we get all Flutter's dependencies and packages. Packages means all the things we're going to use to build our mobile application. So you're going to be seeing a lot of things here. We're going to be coming here to pick off few stuffs and be installing stuff. Even later in the future, most of these things you're going to have to do them. So that is the pub.dev. Now, how do we know the kind of application that we are going to be getting? How do we know what kind of application that Flutter is going to go get for us, install for us to use? Now, there is a file which you have to be very, very familiar with, and it's called pubspec.yaml. This pubspec.yaml is when you want to ship your application. So I think it's open here. So let me just make it in here. So I can just make it a little bit right here. So I'll make it look like an app. So let me just drop it here. Push this one a little. This place, then just put it here. So we're still going to connect our device to this PC. So okay, yeah. So we're going to be viewing our app here. So just imagine it like an application. This is just like an application, but we are opening it in the Chrome. It's going to open on your mobile device. We're going to do that later. I'm going to teach you how to plug your phone and connect it. So for now, we're going to be sticking with here this one. And for those people that are going to download LD Player, in the next class, we'll be looking at setting up the LD Player for you to use it and work with it. So back here, we have a folder called pubspec.yaml. Now, why this folder is very important is because anything your app is going to need is going to use, the description of your application is going to be here. Because when you are shipping this app to somebody, you are sending this app over to a friend to maybe work on, to maybe build for you, you wouldn't want to send it with these libraries and files and all of these two of these this library, this .idea. So you would want to ship it with it. So you want a situation whereby once I get your file, I want to download the dependencies. So these are dependencies are what are going to make your app function well. As you can see, we have the name, we have the description, which is followed by a colon, then the description. We have the publish to. As you can see, there are so many things, comments here. You have the version, you have the environment, the SDK. So maybe someone is using something greater or something less than and wants to run your application. This pubspec.yaml is going to tell the person what kind of environment and the SDK you are using. Then you can see we have dependencies. We have Flutter, we have Cupertino icons. Then we have dev dependencies. There's a difference between dependencies and dev dependencies. Dev dependency means all the dependencies you are going to use when developing the application. So as a developer, when I'm building this application, what are the dependencies I'm going to use? But once I'm done building this application and I'm building for production, I would not need all these dependencies again. But dependencies are the major ones that the app needs, both during production and development, because we have development and production. So there are two stages when it comes to building application. Production is like you are done and you are pushing it into the live, into the live use case, live mode. Now, the development process or development stage is whereby you are still building the application and people are not using it yet, maybe just for testing and the rest. So we have the dev dependencies, as you will have Flutter lint. So Flutter lint is like if there is any error, it's going to check your pack your applications for error. It's going to check your how your codes are written. So like a linter. So more of this will come to this. So we see we have more Flutter uses material design through. So there are some properties and some functions here. We're still going to come to fonts later and assets. So we have fonts, we have assets. So if you want to add images or images folders, we're going to be doing them here. So as I said, the popspec.yaml just tells you what your application is. In short, it's the whole life of the application. Like once you just type in a command. So there's a command you type, which we're going to do once I stop this application. So maybe somebody sends the applications to you. So let me just press Q here so I can quit this application. So we've quit it out. So let me just close all of these. Let me delete the idea. So if you come to our git ignore tells you those things that are going to be ignored when you are sending them to Git. So these are the things that are going to be ignored when sent to GitHub. So we have the .idea, we have the IWS. So everything there will be ignored because they can be so much. Some of them can be weighing 200 MB, and GitHub, or you don't want files that are very much. Some of them can be up to 500 MB. So it is okay for you to delete this folder when you want to zip it and send to someone. So I could delete it here, and it's gone. So once the person gets that folder, all he just has to type is a command called flutter pub get. So flutter pub get is like get my dependency. So what this instruction is going to do is going to go into your popspec.yaml and download everything that is needed. So once I click on this, you would see it telling you resolving dependencies, and once it has done that and it's done, you will see your idea back. So we don't have it. Let me just, I think it's supposed to be the Dart too. Yeah. So it has gotten my dependency. So everything has been gotten. So possibly should be the Dart to Dart. I don't think so. I think. Okay. So let me just run Flutter run. So I'm going to select 2, which is Chrome. So with that, it's going to spin up my Chrome server all over again. So it should be one of these two, but from the git ignore here, good idea. Okay, yeah, the Dart too. If I deleted the Dart tool, yeah, I think it's the Dart tool I needed to have deleted. So it's going to download. So the Dart tool, the idea, both of them all together. So anyone is still going to be installed back. So you will not need to send the Dart tool. The only thing you need to send across to a friend is the Android, the build. So for the Android, you have everything that your Android application is going to use in here. For the build, when you're done with build and you've packaged your application, you have to get them inside here. We have for the iOS, so maybe you want to do extra functions. Everything the Flutter, actually Flutter is a one code based framework. So everything the Flutter is going to use for the iOS will be here. So maybe you want to add external a kind of extra features on the iOS platform. You can just pick your iOS, get your Mac, set up your, and you're going to do some few stuff. So there's still some extra features you can do when using this iOS. Then we have the lib. Now the lib is where you're going to have where you're going to be writing your code. As you can see, we have a main.dat in here for our lib here. Then we have Linux. Maybe you want to compile to Linux. You compile to Mac OS, as you can see. So different application, different folder. Then we have the web. now when you're done with this and you want to push to a website, so you can write codes in Flutter and can still push to web. Then we have test. So forget about the test, but we'll do, maybe you want to do some TDD, test-driven development and stuff. Most of them are going to be here. So that's the side. So Windows also, maybe you need to push to Windows. As you can see, we have everything inside here. So once you build and you compile it, you're going to have different build for different systems inside it. And that's just how the project structure is. So the git ignore is to tell when you're pushing to git the things you don't want. We have the metadata, all of these, and the compulsory for now. Then you have your README. This is going to tell you how you can write how your application works. The get started, as you can see, just how you think people should operate your application, open up your application, set up your application, and run some stuff. So it's very good to have a README in your application. So that's for the folder structure when it comes to when it comes to Flutter. So I'm just going to tick that off. The next thing is we're going to go into the application now. So if I come in here, this is the structure of the application. As you can see, we have something like this banner, and if we click on this button, you can see we can press 1, 2, 5, 6. So let me go back in here. So now, where is this app starting? Where is it reading from? So now let's go to our lib. Under the lib, you're going to see a folder. Anything you're going to do is going to be inside this lib majorly. And we have one folder called main.dat. Now this is the first thing Flutter is going to go inside and go and check when you run. And if you notice in the previous video when I was teaching you, we talked about the void main. Can you see the starting point of the application? The void main. So this is the first thing the computer is going to run. That's why we call it main.dat. So you can see other stuffs here. If you go through it, you can see we have a lot of things and so many things to do. So we have the home page, we have the run app, my app, where is it? We have my app, which is this one, whereby we are calling some kind of stuffs, then we put some home. All of these we're going to delete them and we're going to start afresh. So for me to do that, I'm going to clear all of these one. So I'm going to clear these ones. So okay, so we're going to have just this.